And we're back. The Vac's back. I'm
Good
Val.
to see you again. Yeah, Val. Yeah,
He's
nice.
Nate.
I am.
And we're back to talk the usual stuff that we do. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got plenty of nothing.
Still the agenda, yep.
Oh, the agenda, yeah.
I have a couple of things that I do need to talk to you about, and I will not be satisfied until we get to the root of some of these problems, okay?
Are you putting something on the agenda?
I'm putting two things on the agenda.
Yeah, great. Perfect.
We don't have to get to them straight away.
An agenda. Yeah, great.
How are you?
Is that item one?
No.
On the agenda? No, yeah, I'm going all right.
Yeah,
Looking forward to my brother's wedding.
Good.
Just working like a dog.
Yeah, they've got us. Yeah.
Yeah, chicken in a farm. What do you call it? A chicken in one of those
In an
factories.
egg. Yeah. A battery.
A battery. I'm a battery chicken. I feel like I'm a human battery chicken. It's disgusting.
Yeah, how did that become the collective farming term for chickens? It kind of reminds me of really cool, what do you call groups of animals? The different...
collective nouns.
Collective nouns. They're fun as hell.
Oh, there's always so fun. And I always forget them as well. And then there's the standard ones.
There's some
the Murder of Crows,
forget.
the Parliament of Owls. All those ones.
Yeah.
They're exciting the first time you hear them, and then after, yeah.
I went to the football again on the weekend.
Jesus, wait.
So I saw the Essendon game. No, the Essendon. I was at the Freo game and I was at the Essendon game.
Oh, because Eagles played at home twice.
Well, no, there was a game between that where we lost to somebody.
Oh, okay. Good one.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good game. We were within 6 points of, if we were a goal behind. And there was a moment late in the game where Waterman's taken another grab.
Fuck yeah.
Plug a Waterman, the new Fraser Gearig. I don't know.
He does have tinges of Fraser about him, doesn't he?
Well, he's got a mullet.
But his face.
His head
is very
the big
Gearig.
goals, the hair, sure. And maybe we'll go with the face as
well. And
the
breadth of his shoulders is Gearig-y.
Okay.
G-trainish.
He's having a great season. He took a grab and then Cripps got into it with someone else and there was a couple of shoves and then they overturned the mark and gave the ball to the other team. And we had no idea. We had no idea what happened because we were at the ground. We couldn't see shit of why the ball was given back. So that was a bit of an ish. But the game overall was good, okay? But
they were in it for starters, yeah.
I don't really want to talk about the game so much. I want to talk about because
your feelings.
No, my experience of being at the football is you're almost guaranteed to have someone in your vicinity arcing up, either on their on the friendly team or on the away team. You're going to have someone who's got tickets. They're excited to see their team play, especially if they're from an interstate club. I mean, they never get to see their team play at Optus Stadium. They're having a great time. They're getting into it. So had a bloke in front of me who was an Essendon supporter who was doing a regular amount of cheering, I would say.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Go Bombers.
You're allowed to cheer.
Absolutely.
You bought your ticket. You're allowed to cheer.
Absolutely. So he's yay Bombers, great goal. That's not holding. I'm giving you the extent of what he was saying. That's not holding. That's ball. All that sort of stuff. And there was an Eagles supporter, probably 2 rows behind me, I'm guessing, who was, that's holding the ball. Push it back. You're a disgrace, umpire. What was that? Also, every call, he had something to say about it or a rule that he wanted to make sure that everyone around him knew that he knew what the rule was, okay? Because he's talking loud enough for people around him to hear.
He wants as many people as possible, yeah.
When you do that, you're doing that for a reason, aren't you? You want a bit of negativity thrown your way, potentially by this Essendon bloke who's in front, who's going for his team, you're going for your team. All the rules you're talking about seem to only benefit your team and vice versa.
Yeah, you almost you almost want a bit of kickback, don't you? Some people, when they're being that loud and obnoxious, you kind
of, seems to be the aim.
Yeah, it's a bit like Randy Marsh when he goes to he
His
goes to that
games.
game, his son's game, and he's like, "That's my guy." There's like some loud, obnoxious guy, and he's like, "That's him." He knows. He gets that feeling,
and he would take his shirt off and brawl people on the reg.
I thought this was America.
I did think this was America.
So basically, both these guys thought it was America.
Yes. No. So pretty late in the game, the Essendon player says a decision. That wasn't holding the ball or that was holding the ball. It doesn't matter what he said, really. It's irrelevant. Bloke up the back says...
Disagreed. Let me guess.
Bloke up the back says, because he stood up as well, the Essendon bloke stood up, he said, "Oi, down in front, sit down, you idiot. Ooh. You don't know the rules."
Oh, no, that's personal. Did his head swivel around? Did he have a look at him?
When you're in a hostile territory, meaning it's not your home game, it's their game, you wouldn't really arc up in this day and age. Now, the seats that we have,
but you can have a look. You can have a look at him. He's entitled to turn around and go,
he would probably have a
look.
You probably want to make sure you lock eyeballs on this guy.
You want to be careful because once you do turn around, you're sort of inviting a bit more.
Yeah,
the guy sort of looks at you and says, he
size
might
you up.
Take that as like the next, your
aggression,
sort of
escalation.
Escalation.
So he gives him the sit down, shut up, you're an idiot treatment. And I wanted to mention
that's not on. If that guy has just been cheering as you ordinarily would, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's I guess that's the antisocial behaviour that they're worried about, is it not?
That they're trying to get reported people on.
Yeah.
Now, I want to make this point that the seats that we've had are quite high up in the members area, and I think the lower that you get to the ground, the closer that you are to the action, if you can hear the snapping of bodies or the kicking of the ball, if you can hear that.
The breaking of the bones, yes.
You're closer. It is a different energy down there.
Slappage. Sometimes you hear slappage.
Sure. And, it'd be like comparing sitting in a regular area to like sitting in the right behind the goals, right, where the super fans are who have to wave all the shit.
Yeah, they have
to. Being there would be pretty fucking exciting because everyone around you is getting really excited.
It's like the mosh pit of AFL.
It is. But where we were, it was a bit more quiet in the sense that you could have a chat to the person next to you, in this case, my mother. And so the only two people who are literally making noise higher than the conversation level are these two guys who are doing go Bombers, go Eagles. Everything that the umpire says that happens against us is wrong and it's not true for you. That sort of thing. It was really funny, right? But
it's awkward.
Like I said,
a little awkward at times, it sounds.
Yeah, it can get awkward. It gets pretty awkward when people are just down in fronting people.
Yeah.
Like, certain things are saying get up and cheer for the team. Other things are saying down in front, idiot, sit down, you don't know the rules. But like I said, I want to get to the nitty gritty, right?
Yeah, okay.
What level of aggression are you happy with society, right? So obviously this guy's, you've sort of flinched a bit at the sit down, shut up, you're an idiot, you don't know the rules. He sort of flinched a little bit at that. But in the context of being at a stadium watching a football game is completely different to being in a business meeting or something like that, more professional environment. Obviously that kind of behavior wouldn't fly at all, right? So this is my starting point for most people on this topic. Are we happy with shut up?
It's a good question, actually, because when you were formulating the question, my first thought was as soon as you get personal with someone,
right?
Shut up is, I wasn't thinking this, but it is directed at someone, so it is personal.
Yeah, you're telling that person to stop talking.
So I don't think I'm okay with that. What I like is you can't make things personal because people get defensive when it's personal.
Right.
So you can keep things very broad. You can direct things at the Essendon team. As long as then it's the next level of rudeness. If you're saying obscenities, it gets a bit too much. But you can direct things at things that aren't that person. They aren't entitled to get upset about that if you're not doing anything over and above that's antisocial. That's my first impression.
What are you trying to do? What's your goal here? Are you trying to be offensive and get away with it, or what's the metric here?
Am I the Eagles supporter telling?
Are you trying to figure out where the boundaries are? I wasn't. Yes. But why are we doing that?
Or didn't you say we're going into the nitty gritty about what's okay for
I know,
a supporter?
But it's funny that your brain immediately went to like, all right, so what can I get away with and still claim that, hey.
No, not get away with, not upset the other people.
Right.
Not upset the people around me, not be antisocial. Because the reason there was an awkwardness involved as soon as that guy engaged with the guy in front by directing something at him, I winced because I thought, oh, that's personal. Now you're sitting around going,
what could he have said?
He could sort of disagree with comments and not direct anything at him.
This is what I like. The disagreeing. This is how it all should go. Every time there's like a decision like this where they say, that was holding the ball, and the guy returns with, it wasn't, he didn't have the football, and the other guy says, I think he did have the football, and then that guy then returns with, well, I guess we have a differing of opinion, and the other guy says, I guess we do.
And you're entitled to a disagreement of opinion.
And that's where it ends. Yeah. I respect your opinion. Well, I respect yours as well. Well, I'm going to get back to watching the football now and stop engaging with you. Well, I hope that you have a great day. I hope you do too. Good.
That would be great. And I've heard some great engagements by people of the crowd in opposite teams. And it's so fun when people do something along those lines and they're having fun with it. And you're like, yeah, we disagree and we don't actually care. But some people, let's say in this circumstance, let's just say there's the Eagle supporter and the Essendon supporter. Sometimes the Eagle supporter, maybe in this case, I'm not saying it could be vice versa. The other supporter, in this scenario, we've got the Eagle supporter. He can be taking it personally when the Essendon supporter is saying things about the decisions. He almost feels violated that the guy is not somehow agreeing with him, and he starts taking it personally to the point that he feels like he needs to tell the other guy to shut up.
Well, that person needs to grow up and realize they're not actually the one out there playing football. There's actually the players who do that, and they get paid lots of money to kick footballs and stuff. You're just watching, all right?
And the umpire has to make a decision, and it's gonna please one side of the crowd and upset the other. So it's this I think this is one of the beauties of sport. I think people need to embrace the fact that sometimes you're the hammer and other times you're the nail, and you got to experience one to enjoy the other. It's like the yin yang thing. It's the dark and light. It's the ups and downs.
Yes,
I agree. The disappointment is just as exciting. I try to embrace sometimes the bad things and the disappointment because it's just the opposite end of the spectrum of the positive.
It does. Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense if you won every week. It would be completely empty experience.
Wouldn't it? Can you imagine if the Eagles won the premiership every year?
It was just a guaranteed. It was a lock. You didn't have to worry about it.
Well, firstly, the AFL wouldn't exist because no one would care anymore. It would get to a point where...
Well, the same is true for things like F1. Like Max Verstappen's the reigning defending, and he never loses a race, and he did on the weekend, but he barely ever loses a race until the weekend. And
did he lose on the weekend?
Yeah, I think Lando Norris won the Grand Prix on the weekend in Miami, and that's pretty rare for anyone to challenge Max these days.
This is one thing, I don't follow F1, but it is one thing that I say to people that love it, and I'm sure it's great. I just haven't really gotten into it. One thing that bothers me is there's not a lot of movement up near the top of the table. Like I think I was paying attention when Lewis Hamilton had like 6 years in a row of winning, and I was like, oh, the Mercedes cars were just always 1-2.
And it was interesting when Max took over and then immediately became
exactly.
Max just wins every year now.
It was so interesting.
It does happen like that, and it's a bit like the EPL because there's no budget. restraints with EPL, so that literally the rich clubs just have all the best players, and they win every time. They don't lose.
They still tend to move around at the top of the table a little bit, more so than F1. More so
F1, is pretty rare.
Just gets locked in.
You would like to see different people on the podium, but I think that's what the sport's always trying to do, but can never really achieve.
Yeah.
And you'd have people who are lobbying hard for just the rules to stay exactly as they are because they're benefiting from the status quo. And then you'd have people who are like, no, we need to change it for the future. Otherwise, people are going to lose interest. They're right. People will lose interest. Yeah, it's just funny. But then it becomes like, how long can someone remain dominant? Like, people loved watching Mike Tyson, even though they pretty much knew that whoever he was going to fight was just going to get their head ripped off.
But the difference is he did that in a sport where, yes, there were some dominant fighters over periods of time, but he came in the youngest heavyweight champion of all time and held it for a long period of time. So he did something that other fighters weren't able to do, whereas getting 5 consecutive world championships in the F1 doesn't seem to be that unusual. But if no one's ever done it and someone came along, it's a bit like AFL.
Well, it is pretty unusual because only 3 blokes have done it in the last 15 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to be the one. Otherwise, you're fucked.
It's a bit like a triple premiership, for example. Brisbane did it, and I don't think anyone was upset. They know it's not going to go on forever. It's impossible. They made a 4th grand final.
Yeah. Did they? They did. In amongst that three-peat?
Yeah, so 2001, 2002 and 2003, they won. 2004, they made against Port.
No way.
And apparently they were so old and banged up, they used I heard some stat that they used, I think it was, I need this fact check, I'm going off my memory here, 48 vials of painkiller, whatever that means. And they say one vial is one serving, if you like, of painkiller. They just were injected up to the hills, is my understanding, to get through that game. They were just patched up, put out there. They had niggles, I don't know, injuries they could play through that were painful, and they just got them out there.
And they got what, spanked?
They got spanked. And that's when, who was it? Choco? Who's that coach that did the choking? Why did I call him Choco? Maybe I'm thinking of choking. Who was the guy? Williams or something? Who's that guy?
Sheed do that?
No, he did the
Isn't
thing
that the
where
scarf thing?
No. He did the thing. I think they were accused of choking. And then he comes out.
Paul Roos?
No. Wait, Port coach.
Choking. Yes.
Is it
Mark something?
Mark Williams, chokes himself with tie after the Port.
Mark Williams.
Adelaide's 2004 grand final win. It's pretty funny actually having a look at it. He's really getting into it. Yeah, man. He's hanging himself from the rafters, man. He needs to stop lynching himself. Yeah. An exuberant Williams took the field off there. I think as they shed its choker tag after 2 seasons of topping the table and failing in the finals. Okay,
right. So they kept winning the minor premiership and then bombing out in the finals or getting to the Grandy and losing.
I'm pretty sure
it sucks when like a bad stat for you is you didn't make the grand final or win the grand final that year. That's a pretty rough metric.
Yeah, I'll say. I'm just going to get a video up for you. Have you seen Alistair Lynch? I'm pretty sure came out in that game, and he had retired. So his last game is in the grand final for the fourth consecutive.
Oh yeah, doesn't he deck somebody?
I think it's Wakelin. Shane Wakelin is the fullback, I'm pretty sure, for Port. And
because he just knew he was never going to play again. He just thought, I'm just going to deck somebody.
Yeah, because you can't get red carded. You can't get sent off.
You can get tribunaled.
Yeah, but if it's his last game, he doesn't care. I think he went for 12 or 14 weeks or something after that. And that was in 2004 when you could punch someone in the head and get a week.
Crazy times.
Now you tell me, I'm going to get it up and we can quickly watch it. You tell me how many weeks you should get. It's called AFL Finals Moment. Alistair Lynch goes out swinging.
Have you got a link?
Yeah. Oh, I'll get it up. You can watch I'm going to share my screen, right?
Okay.
Should work.
No. It's not working.
It's not working.
No. Oh, here we go. Got it.
Oh, you got it?
Yep. Hit it.
All right. Okay. Okay, you be the tribunal representative.
Yeah, I don't envy their position, but I'm. Can we
this is a whole. Let's
go to hover the timeline, see where it's most replayed, and that'll be the spot.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Because this is the beginning of the game. Oh.
Yeah. Just one of them.
They're haymakers.
Yeah, they're haymakers.
I mean, if they connected, we would have a full-on problem.
Well, some of them did look like they connect a little bit. Oh, come on. Come on.
You just can't do that.
The fact that you can keep playing the game after that.
It's complete. I cannot believe.
Can play the game.
I can't believe they didn't bring in a rule after that.
In ice hockey, they beat the shit out of each other for a while, and then the ref has to step in, and then when the ref steps in, they both get sin binned. They're both in the bin.
Even if you didn't start it. Oh, but it's consensual, isn't it? Fighting's consensual in that sport, whereas that didn't look consensual. Wakeland didn't want the tee.
What do you mean the fighting has to be consensual?
In ice hockey, when they shape up, you shape up. And everyone clears out. The game stops.
Maybe in a video game, because they'll throw down the gloves and then they'll both throw down the gloves and punch on and stuff.
There's etiquette. If you don't take the fight,
etiquette. You've got a stick in your hand. You could inflict some serious damage if you wanted to.
No, you have to drop the stick. You have to drop the stick. You can't come in there with a weapon. Are you crazy?
Yeah. Hey, question. Would you rather have the helmet on or get the helmet punched off or thrown off so that the punches are... Like, you keep the helmet on, surely, right?
Because they don't really use it to block punches, though, do they? They don't drop their chin and let them punch the top of it.
There's not a lot of technique going on.
Well, this is what I mean about etiquette. I think they might take the helmet off as well. I think you're seen as not a man if you go in with the helmet on. I don't know if that's
the case. I've seen helmets come off mid-fight. I've seen helmet on, helmet off. Maybe we should look up NHL fight etiquette.
Yeah, I'm just... Okay, fighting in ice hockey. This is just on Wikipedia. It's an established tradition in North American ice hockey with a long history that involves many levels. Okay, let's see. History. It's quite a big article. Rules and penalties. There's got to be etiquette. Come on. Enforcers, causes... Etiquette. There are several informal rules governing fighting in ice hockey that players rarely discuss but take quite seriously. The most important aspect of this etiquette is that opposing enforcers must agree to fight, usually via verbal or physical exchange on the ice. This helps both players avoid being given an instigator penalty and helps keep unwilling participants out of fights. I knew it. Enforcers typically fight only each other, with only the occasional spontaneous fight breaking out between one or two opponents who do not usually fight. Oh, so you're like skilled in fighting. That's one of your attributes.
Enforcers like go and wreck people, right? That's what I used to do with them in NHL games.
Yeah, I didn't realise that they actually are generally the only ones that fight as well. So they're almost your, you know how you have your, back in the day in ancient Greece, didn't you have you could nominate someone to fight on your behalf if you're going to.
I think that was Game of Thrones, but I take your point, yeah.
No, but I think that was a thing as well. I think that was.
Have a rep. Yeah. If you don't want to do it. Yeah, but what are we doing? The Olympics? Or are we fighting to the death?
Well, I'm just thinking the enforcer's kind of like your, your Hercules type fellow.
Yes. I was going to do more like the Hound. from Game of Thrones. Like he's the hound.
Exactly.
Bit of a representative on the battlefield. Yes. So it turns out there are a few rules in regards to fighting in the NHL at least, and that's you can get a 2-minute penalty, right, for something called roughing. Now that's fighting with your gloves on.
Okay.
So 2 minutes gloves on. If the gloves go off, 5 minutes. Okay. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Interesting. It says rules about that. Okay, well, this is just on the etiquette aspect of it. It says here another important aspect of etiquette is simply fighting fairly and cleanly. Fairness is maintained by not wearing equipment that could injure the opposing fighter, such as face shields, gloves, or masks, and not assaulting referees or linesmen. Well, that goes right. Finally, whatever the outcome of the fight, etiquette dictates that players who choose to win, who choose to fight, win, and lose those fights. What? I can't read. Etiquette dictates that players who choose to fight, win, and lose those fights gracefully. Otherwise, they risk losing the respect of their teammates and fans. Sportsmanship is also an important aspect when it comes to these fights. Okay.
So the NHL defines the instigator of the fight based on the following criteria. Now, we're going to do a base scenario where we can talk about some of this stuff. Number one, distance traveled. The distance that the skater has to engage the other player or has the same time to at the same time approach them. So how far? Don't go court to court or whatever you want to call it, rink, the other side of the rink to the other side of the rink. Just punch on straight away, right, when they're right next to you. That's number one. Gloves off first. Who puts the gloves down first? All right, this is a criteria for an instigator, right? Perfect, right? Makes sense. You threw your gloves down. What more instigatey? How much more instigatey do you want to be?
And now that you say it, they throw the gloves down with disdain. They whip them off, and sometimes they do it real quick. Sometimes the fight is on in a second. Yep. All the things come off, and they're going it. And
sometimes they're trying to shake them off. They're trying to shake off the gloves, and the other guy's ready to throw, and still shaking his gloves off.
It's almost like drawing your pistol.
Yeah, exactly.
You want a real quick gloves off.
It's the new quick draw. You're right. First punch thrown. Throws a punch before the other player has the chance to prepare.
Oh,
so if you do that, that's instigating.
That's just a normal fight, isn't it? That's just a fight.
Yeah. Menacing attitude or posture. That means just staring at someone could be that. Menacing attitude, posture.
You're not following, just on that note, you're not following the NBA, are you?
Not actively.
Minnesota's playing Mr. Moneybags team, who's been on the show before, is finally good after 20 years. They're playing the reigning defending in relatively the second round of playoffs, and they're up. So Minnesota's playing Denver Nuggets. Minnesota have won the first 2 games at Denver Nuggets' home ground.
Wow,
very
that's huge.
Convincingly. And today, it was actually in game 1. Yeah, one of the stars, Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards for Minnesota, just did a big dunk, and he literally just looked at the guy when he was walking away, and they gave him a technical foul, which is like a one
for
free for looking at him.
Yeah,
and
can't do that.
You can't do that. If you get another technical in the following game, I think it can result in a suspension or you get removed. It's a carry forward type thing. It's not just in that game. Luckily, they didn't lose by a point. I've always felt weird
about that. How do you feel about that?
It's kind of
it's tricky, isn't it? Because you're actually benefiting other teams. So they do a similar thing in soccer where if you get either consecutive red cards or something, you actually have to miss weeks. Now, when you miss weeks, that doesn't benefit the team who was infringed against.
Yeah,
it doesn't benefit them at all.
True.
It benefits some other team.
You just have to punish the player, though, don't you?
You have to. It's the same as AFL when they report players.
And you have sometimes you have carryover points. So you do something one week, and I don't know if they still do this, and you don't get enough points for it to be you're not suspended, but then you do something later on, and then
okay, because you were serving some sort of suspended sentence.
Yeah.
You get the full whack after that. All right, so the next one's verbal instigation or threats. I mean, that's obvious. You can't threaten people, right? I mean,
can't say anything about someone's mother.
Yeah, or
under no circumstances.
Verbal instigation, or do you want to fight, would be an example of that. Conduct in retaliation to a prior game or season incident. The NHL will do anything to stop an intentional planning of an attack prior to a game. At the game, different story. But if you're organising shit prior to the game, and we know it's happened in the AFL, that's instigating. All right, guys. So, letter of the law. Obvious retribution for a previous incident in the game or season. Just rehashing old ground now. Exactly the same thing, basically. What have you got for me this time?
This is best hockey goalie fight of all time.
Okay, Mike Smith versus Cam Talbot. All right, let's have it. I'm a bit of a fight fan, so I'd be interested to see how this goes.
Let's see if they follow good etiquette.
All right, yeah, we'll check that. Okay, it's a bit hard to see, but there's gloves on. Gloves on so far. We got a roughing call. We got gloves off. It's not one-on-one, this one, mate. This is a bit different. It's hard to judge the etiquette here.
This is like one of those Russian... Oh, here we go. Wait. No, okay. This is just fighting all over the place.
Everybody's fighting.
Let's keep it to the enforcers, guys.
Keep going.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. All right, so
the crowd is going off.
Okay.
This is proper. This is proper etiquette. Don't go for any body shots.
Yeah, no, body shots are smart. Body shots are smart.
Oh. He got one in when the guy fell over.
While he was falling. Which I think is okay. But after that, it's not okay. Yeah, let's have it again.
Did you hear what the commentator said right at the end?
Skip back to the middle.
They've been waiting for it for 3 decades. The fight they've been waiting for.
Okay, so this is retribution. So we're ticking that box. All right, here they are. They're sizing each other up again. And who thrings the first strike?
It's actually
weird. It's weird. They grab each other roughly at the same time. It's like a dance.
Ooh.
Bang. This is the battle of Alberta that we've been waiting for 3 decades. Jesus.
I love people that are really excited about things.
People get excited about fights because it's fighting. People get excited about fighting.
I've got something that you should just watch later on that note, or we can watch it now. It's speaking about people getting excited. I'll give you some context. We'll put the link in the description. In any event, it's Brian Taylor finds out that Ahmed Saad, who plays for St Kilda, lives in a garage or lived in a garage, one of his mates' garages for a little bit. Okay. And BT can't get over it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, you just press play.
Been living at the old coach's house too.
Oh, is he?
In the garage at Grant Thomas's place.
There you go. Living in a garage.
There who kicked that first.
It's a quiet day for BT, obviously.
Did you say he's living in someone's garage?
Well, he's living in a converted garage at Grant Thomas's home.
What?
He's a mate of Tyson Thomas. He played football with him, and
just got to give it a second as well.
It's not in the garage.
It's very palatial.
There's no room in Tomo's house. Playing on Travis Cloak. Never heard of a palatial garage, but if Grant Thomas has got one, I'm happy. Into the man that lives in a garage, Sard.
Into the man that lives in a garage.
To the garage, man!
Oh, fuck. How quickly you can become a fucking meme.
Everybody will be calling at Ahmed Saad the garage man for his whole career.
Is he still playing? This is a few years old.
Well, I was wondering if it's... I only know one Saad, the one that plays for Carlton. It's not him. Is it a few years ago?
Yes, well, this video, if you full screen it, I believe is a few years old. So it's minimum a few years old, if that makes sense, because...
I'll find out.
The straight back,
BT, I counted him, 36 steps he took then.
And no problems with the journey. There's Saad, the man that lives in a garage, goes inside 50. Stick the boots in now, Richo. Where's the line on that? Here's the garage man. Got it to Milne. Here's the boy who lives in the garage.
The garage man.
Got a tweet from Brock McLean saying Ahmed Saad doesn't live in a garage anymore. Brock, I've got news for you. He's back in there. Short ball. Sarge.
Outside his distance, BT.
He doesn't play anymore.
Lives in a garage.
Oh.
Goes long.
But look at this.
Ball by Sarge to goal.
Look at that kick. He kicks two
amazing.
bombs in that game.
That was huge.
Yeah, so he's born in 89, so he's 34, so you know he's old. He played 73 games. He only played 33 games, for St Kilda at AFL level, and then he was in VFL before that. Yeah, so he didn't have a long career, but, I mean, you've got a fantastic video online of BT just getting around you in the garage. He's got Egyptian parents, actually. I mean, there's not too many AFL footballers of Egyptian heritage. Actually, on that note, when I was in Egypt, I asked one of my Egyptologist guides. He says he plays some soccer, so I asked him who he supports, and he told me that he supports the team that every Egyptian supports.
Yeah.
Which is Mo Salah's team. I actually don't follow EPL. Who's Mo Salah play for?
I don't know.
Do you not know who
but
he is?
It'd be that team, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because he's the biggest. He's the king. His nickname is the King of Egypt.
Yeah, well, that's a good nickname.
He's super popular. And then once I started looking him up, I saw his face. There's murals of him all over Cairo. People just
of course
painted on the side
pyramids.
Inside the King's Chamber. I'm sure he'll get there.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see there was a Joe Rogan that came out just a couple days ago, and there's a guy called Christopher Dunn who is what I believe, well, I've been led to believe just from listening to the episode, that he's sort of the leading proponent of the Giza pyramid being a power plant.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty wacky. Of
course. Of course it's wacky.
And the guy's just giving it his best go, saying, look, there's some weird stuff going on and I'm trying to make sense of it, because we have to think outside the box, because we're not really, the technologies we have don't align with what, the setup that I've got. It's actually really fascinating, though, to listen to when you just don't take it as being gospel, because he says it himself. He's like, I don't know. This is just my best guess. But there is something that he said that, because I'm not going to get into the weeds because I don't know. I'm not an engineer and I don't know how power
the
plant
whole
works.
resonance thing.
Oh, there's
that. What they go into?
There is a little bit. It has a natural resonance of an F sharp, which is that of the resonance of the Earth. And the idea is that he thinks that somehow, and I'm going to butcher, I'm paraphrasing, but this is just
go for it.
That somehow they matched the. I don't know how they would have something that's actually creating a vibration in there. I don't know how, if they have some kind of something, a thumper or something like in June.
Sure.
But it matches the resonance of the Earth, and he calls it an electron harvester.
How does that work?
Fuck me dead. I don't know. He does direct you to a TED talk of someone's. I can't remember the name of the guy, so it's not very helpful. And he describes how you can, kind of liberate electrons from like stone, essentially. That's how I'm imagining this whole thing going down. And so if you put it in the right place, the Earth just provides.
Okay. And this is wireless energy we're talking about as well, isn't it?
Oh, it's wireless, baby.
So when the pyramid's switched on or whatever, it's just on and everyone gets power.
Yeah, I don't know in what range. But then the next question, right, is what are they using the power for?
Right. Lights, fridges.
Well, I suppose if they have the technology to create a power plant like that, then they would have something to use it for. But I mean, it's a far out there idea. But one thing that I find interesting...
It's a bit chicken and egg. Like, what came first, the power plant or the first electric appliance? Like, you can't just build a fridge and go, here's the fridge, here's the plug, let me know when you can get it in there. There has to exist the electricity first before anything, really.
But I've been, as we know, I've been in the Great Pyramid.
You've been in the power plant.
I've been in the plant. And one thing that is really true about it, which is not, it's just a feeling. It's a vibe. It's the vibe. The vibe you get is it's not very hospitable to people moving around in it. Like, it's the Grand Gallery is an ascending passage of 26.5 degrees, which is quite a steep incline. And they have to put these wooden slabs down that you can use as almost mini steps to allow you to get up. If they weren't there, it's all just clean rock. It's just shafts, and it'd just be very difficult to get around. Obviously, the comeback on that is if it was a tomb, then you don't want to make it easy for the tomb robbers. But it feels very industrial in there. Like, the whole look of it feels like...
And when we're talking about the weathering, obviously there's a lot of weathering on the outside of the pyramids. They've been out in the sun for a while, and the rest. But inside, that obviously would have weathered also, but maybe to not the same extent?
Oh,
how does that work?
There's no sign of weathering inside the Great Pyramid.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware.
So did you get a better idea of what it could have looked like in antiquity?
By being there?
By being inside and going, great, I can use this as a base to then go back outside and then...
Not really. Inside is granite lined, and outside would have been polished limestone, which is largely all gone except for the top of the...
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
That's the big question. Why would you build something on this incredible scale? Until you've seen it, you've got no fucking idea about the scale that you're dealing with. And that's why I wanted to go. It is mind-numbing. And
if we want to go further into some rabbit hole here, right?
Let's go all the way.
The situation or the geography surrounding this, meaning the location of the pyramids, has always been quite fascinating to a lot of people. Now, it's sort of it's in sort of middle of the land masses, which suggests to me, if we're going full rabbit hole, that this wasn't like the capital, let's say, or maybe it was, but it was someone who knew about, let's say they knew about the planet and were like, yes, this is a good spot. Do it here, then you would imagine that there will be other settlements like it elsewhere. Could have been a global civ. They could have been boating around. They could have been flying around. We don't know. Their airports wouldn't have survived. But no, it's just fun. Because you look at them. What's that phrase that I love? It's man fears time, but time fear the pyramids.
That's good.
Isn't
That's
it?
good. It made me want to revisit listening to this guy talk. He actually mentioned a book. He said, I think Joe asked him how he got into this, and he mentions this book called Secrets of the Great Pyramid. It's by Peter Tompkins, and I bought it and read it before I went to Egypt. And it basically takes you through a history of everyone who's ever made measurements of the pyramid, because it's only been like that for a long time. They couldn't even get the full base of it because there was sand. Like, they had to keep excavating down through to get the actual bottom, like the very foundation stone. So it's everyone's
best guesses over the years. Everyone's best guess.
Yeah, and it shows over time how they got better and better measurements, and then it just goes into but what's very interesting about it is what the measurements show. And I'm not smart enough or educated enough to be able to recall all the information. I've always wanted to go back and actually note some of these things and just take you through them, because it's astounding. The coincidence is like to the point that that you start to read into things that you can't be real.
I guess there is a certain element of when you're going down that rabbit hole of, well, we have to throw out that they weren't very smart at the time. They were obviously very, very smart. So then you have to go, okay, so with this new base level of understanding that, yes, they were a really, really smart bunch of people.
That's a good point.
Why would they, again, you ask the question, why would they do this for a tomb? Especially considering how long did it take? Best guess is they say about 75 years or something to build.
I've heard anywhere from 10
That's a pretty
to
great
100.
fucking lifespan, though, for a pharaoh at the time. And yes, they did live till that age. If you were, pretty well off, I'm sure that you could live till that age. But it still seems like a shit ton of work for your funeral, bro. Everyone else was just getting valley of the tomb, standard knock-up jobs. But that was thousands of years later. Yeah.
This is what is insane is the precision of all of this. I think people are too casual about how easy it would be to do this. People are like, they like you're saying before, people assume that it must have been primitive because of the time. When you actually start seeing how accurate,
you realize how smart they are. Yeah.
You're like, man, this was and you have to plan this.
It wasn't lucky.
Architecture.
There was no luck.
Yeah, you're drawing smart diagrams. You're not doing this as you go. You're not haphazardly going like, oh, let's just let's just quarry some materials here and
start. On. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the organization.
And the
logistics.
Yeah. As in, we're doing the third level today. Has the granite arrived from Aswan yet? The granite hasn't arrived from Aswan yet. We've got word that it will be delayed by 2 days. Great. Well, I guess we'll push the limestone back 2 days as well then, shall we? And then that's how you get these blowouts to 75
And
years.
You're not sending emails to...
No. They would probably just have horses going up and down the Nile, just going, are you blokes... the granite drop-off? Yeah, we're building that dude's tomb for some reason, even though we could have our manpower dedicated to other projects that would benefit more people. Doesn't matter. We're just quarrying stone, popping it up. It's got to be the power plant. There has to be a reason everyone was on board to build this thing. It's got to be a power plant. Just lock it in.
That's why the power plant's a sexy idea. It actually makes more sense, other than the fact that why would they need a power plant and how are they building it? Other than all the other questions, the fact that it's something
they need a power
significance.
Plant to power the television.
Yeah, they wanted to watch the Mo Salah.
They wanted to watch the sport.
They wanted to see the EPL. They wanted those.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Exactly. Hey, guess what?
Oh, tell me.
I watched Battlefield Earth.
Oh, did you?
I did, and we can talk about it now. So...
I forgot you were going to do that.
I told you before that I have to get into a certain frame of mind to knowingly watch a bad movie. Other times I've had bad movies sprung upon me where I start watching it and then I go, oh, this is a bad movie. Oh, now I'm having fun. Great. It's a bad movie. Oh, I had a feeling maybe this was going to be a good movie. No, it's a bad movie. Okay, let's go then.
So you came in with the right mindset.
Yeah, I knew what I was getting into. Now, point number one I want to make about Battlefield Earth is I love the concept. The concept is great. What's the concept? What do you think the concept is?
Oh, mate, I was not really in the right frame of mind when I was watching it. I was just going along for the ride. It was pretty wild. Yeah, and I don't want to, because I'm going to butcher it. You'll do a much better job. Okay. I think you said you're going to do a deep dive.
Here we go.
Do you want me to read any of the plot from Wikipedia?
Why don't I just start messing around, and you can correct me wherever okay. You've had a read ahead, so I'm going to just sort of nestle around. All right, so it's sort of, but without going into the plot at all, it's very Planet of the Apes-y. Okay,
yes.
It's there's a new king dick species in town, and they fucking hate humans. These new ones, they think we're less than dogs.
Yes.
They actually use the
John
example.
Travolta.
Yes, he's one of the Cyclones, which are the aliens who have taken over Earth and have reduced the human population to more or less, at best, manual laborers. Not even. They won't even accept that. They think they're too stupid to do anything. And the actual one of the things that they bring up, One of the things that they bring up, Cyclone,
sorry.
one of the things that they bring up is that the dogs are clearly the dominant species on Earth right now because the humans are leading them around and they make them do all their things for them and feed them and all that sort of stuff. So they're like, oh, so these are subservient to dogs, these human, I think they call them man animals, right? The whole idea is that in the future, once the cyclones came in, they've started building this big dome thing, and inside is breathable air for the cyclones, which is not breathable for humans. And outside of the domes is a more sort of caveman experience for the man animals to endure, where they're sort of just surviving in their little cave and they've never really experienced the outside world, and you eat whatever you can and you can breathe the air.
Yeah.
And you may not have even seen a cyclone before is the premise for our
like
main
devils
character.
or demons.
Yeah. Oh, have you ever seen one before? I've never seen one before, so they probably don't exist. If you go out into those lands, Sonny, you're definitely going to see one, and then you're going to realize that you should never have gone out there to begin with. And then he's going to go, yeah, well, fuck you, I'm the main character. I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm going to go to Cyclone territory, right?
Yes, they were very skeptical of their existence.
He goes there and immediately meets Tig from Sons of Anarchy, which you might remember as the not-for-sale guy from Waterworld. You know, the not for sale, not for sale, not for sale, paper.
Oh,
He's in, that's him, okay? So he had a few roles during the 90s and then showed up in Sons of Anarchy. Yeah, paper. It's his most famous role other than, I'm sure, Sons of Anarchy. Anyway, so he immediately meets them and they hit it off. They have this sort of immediate sort of fight over food. And then he just decides, he's a bit of a Jesus-y character, the main character, because he's like, no, I'll share with you. You show me where the aliens are, and I'll give you some food, and we can be chill together. We can hang out. So they end up showing him where they're at. They get caught, I think, and then stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens after that.
More stuff. So much. How much stuff though? It's quite overwhelming how much stuff is going on. So, and just as far as the premise goes, it's based in the year 3000.
Yes. See, this is something I didn't like. Straight off the bat, I did not like that. Okay, because we need to keep explaining the plot before I make this point. So let's just power on. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're doing really well, by the way. Really well. Right. It's coming back to me.
So I think the John Travolta's character is a bit of a schemer, and his main thing is he wants off this rock because he hates Earth with a passion.
He's like the head demon on Earth.
Yeah.
He's the CEO of the Earth.
Yeah. And it's very offhandedly mentioned that he fucked with one of the senator's daughters, and that's the reason he's being punished on this planet.
That's right.
As his retirement job, and he's coming up for retirement, so he's getting pretty fucking excited. And the other thing that I draw parallels with this, which made me like the concept a lot more, is it's very Anunnaki because they want gold.
Yes.
For some reason.
I did pick up on that.
We don't know why, but they want gold.
Yeah. They've got a gold mining. They've got this gold mining operation.
Yeah. And John Travolta's scheme is that he's going to get man animals and teach them how to use mining equipment on the side to mine up some gold. On the side for him.
Sort of a Matrix type thing where he teaches them the language and skills.
There's a device that shoots laser beams into your brain that make you learn the histories of the cyclones and the humans and everything. And it ends up being one of the weapons that the main character uses to defeat them because he's filled them with knowledge. And as we know, knowledge is power. He just gave this man animal who he underestimated the knowledge to defeat them one day. Anyway, so John Travolta tells the boys they need to mine a whole buttload of gold for him before a certain date. Otherwise, I'll fuck you up or something. I don't know what the stakes were. But old mate John Travolta left the main character, Jesus guy, in a library by himself.
His name's Johnny. So the main character is Johnny. Johnny
Hotbody. So Johnny Hotbod is in the library and he's reading up on America's history and goes, bros, we don't need to mine the gold up. We need to go to this place called Fort Knox.
There is heaps of gold at Fort Knox.
Already there. So they bust into Fort Knox, which is apparently pretty easy, even though 1,000 years had passed, and they get into the vault, and wouldn't you know it, there's fuck tons of like
no one had thought of going to Fort Knox.
The Cyclones just didn't read the books. They think about it. You would have looked at it like the scribblings of a dog and gone, this is rubbish. There's no way to get any meaning out of this. Meanwhile, they did have a whole buttload of bars of gold ready to rock. And John Travolta's character gets pretty sus of Johnny Hotbody because he says to him, yo, why are these in bar form? And he said, oh, you Cyclones, you definitely would want your gold refined. You're too good for the mere ore. Like, we had to do this for you. Like, it's such a pleasure to serve you. Shit. And so Johnny Hotbody's plan is actually to start a revolt, get a whole bunch of human man animals together for a big
overwhelm
revolt and kill the Cyclones, right? And you'd think that'd be enough, right? But the people would make the point, well, if we kill them, even if we killed every single one on this planet, they're just going to come back and destroy us. And that's when Johnny Hotbody spikes the lens pretty much and says, that's why I'm going to blow up their whole planet. Like, think about how preposterous that is as a concept.
I didn't realize that. I can't recall that.
He said, we're going to blow up their whole planet. That's why we're going to kill every single last one of them.
I mean, it was preposterous before we got to the. Okay, all right.
So they come across some jets. And Johnny Hotbody, who is the only one who's been in the educated machine, who's the only one chuck everybody in the little zappy machine for a little bit. Everyone should go in the mind zappy machine for at least 10 minutes a day.
Spread the knowledge around, right?
Yeah. He says to this one tribe leader who's got about 7 boys under him, he's like, yo, you need to spend some time and learn how to fly these flying machines, which are Harrier jets.
This is one thing that was very preposterous.
You've got 3 days.
Yeah, but where do these Harrier jets come from? Are they still operational? Like, it's a bit like the gold bars are lying around.
We don't really know if they would be operational. 1,000 years.
I wouldn't have thought so. And they look like natives in these Harrier jets. It's a hilarious look.
It is. So there's a moment where the battle's happening on the ground and people are getting shot, and there's the level of sacrifice that you'd expect to see in the climax of a movie like this. And old mate's in trouble, and guess what? A fucking Harrier flies over and shoots a guy, and then there's this woo moment where the Harrier boys finally learned how to use the simulator to the point where they are actually proficient with these things, and they fly in and do some cool moves and shoot
the Harrier jets was so fucking funny. It was so great. Funny.
All right, so Sons of Anarchy guy, Pepper, he gets in one of their machines, I think, and ends up, one of their flying machines, and ends up, he says, I'm going to crash into the dome. Right? The idea is that if you break the dome, then the Cyclones can't breathe and they're fucked, right? And humans would be able to breathe in there. So you break the dome, you break their base on this planet. They all have to wear those nose things that make you breathe the opposite of whatever you need.
That's right.
You know, the nose things, the humans wear them when they're in the cyclone areas. They pop the nose thing on, and the Cyclones pop it on when they go out. So I don't know how it works, but it doesn't make any sense. So it doesn't matter. We're just skipping over that. It doesn't matter. So he crashes into the dome, and it doesn't break. He says, fuck, we're done. It's game over. And then he gets the bright idea to explode the whole ship that he's on, because it's got a whole bunch of explosives on it, and he has access to a rocket launcher. So he just says, I'm doing this, I'm blowing the dome, does it, blows the dome, huge moment. The dome sort of crumbles apart, falls apart, all that sort of stuff. The Harrier jets was bad. But it was great as well. It was perfect for the movie.
Perfect for the movie, just to take it to the next level of ridiculous.
So the plan is that Johnny's got his hands on a nuke. I don't know if it's a thermonuclear boy or just a regular nuke that the United States Army had just held on to, but he's got one, and it's got a little switch button. Yeah. And it's got a little switch button that if you click it, it goes off. brilliant. I'm sure that's how it happens. There's just a little someone carries around a little clicky button. Someone just walks around with a little clicky button for a nuclear weapon. Yeah, of course. So anyway,
I suppose Trump's got one in the form of a nuclear football, but I think there's a little bit more going on to that.
Yeah, I've never seen it though. I've
seen
him walking around a whole bunch.
It's not a little clicky button.
Anyway, so Johnny's made the decision. I'm going to do this. I'm taking it. I'm going to use their teleportation system to teleport this nuke to their planet and blow it up. And they're like, won't that just piss them off? And he says, no, their atmosphere is made of some shit that'll get super reactive with this thing and it'll obliterate them. And they're like, well, that's fucking handy because this is the best thing we've got. So, wow, that thing will actually do this. That's
very
great.
Convenient.
So he inspires this young lad to be like, yo, you need to let me do it because you're too valuable here. We need you here. You can speak the Cyclone language. You're the smartest guy we know. You can't go on the teleportation nuke move. That's my gig, right? And somehow I think he actually does end up fulfilling that, even though Johnny Hotbod says, no, I'm doing this. It's me. Yo. He ends up doing it. Blows up the Cyclone home planet, eliminates them, and then the end of the movie is just them with John Travolta. He's locked up in Fort Knox, surrounded by all the gold that he wanted. And is it Forrest Whitaker? He's going to help out the humans now. Anyway, that in a nutshell is Battlefield Earth, right?
Yeah, that was excellent. And then for people that don't know, it's based on a 1982 book by Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology.
Yeah.
And when did
Which
he
explains why John
Scientology?
Travolta was so excited to get involved.
Yeah, being a Scientologist, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he started Scientology. He wrote Dynasties in 1950. So this is 32 years later after he'd started this religion. Can you imagine that your Jesus figure writes a book along these? Isn't that just the red flag that you're following a book written by a guy and then you read his next?
Who actually writes fiction. Yeah. I mean, even if we found out the people who, the group of people that wrote the Bible, even if we found out that on the side, 3 out of 8 of them wrote fiction novels just for funsies, that would hurt it. So, yeah, you don't want to be a fiction writer and the writer of the holy texts. Those things do not go hand in hand. Or maybe they do.
Wikipedia says financially it's regarded as one of the most expensive box office bombs in film history.
I didn't know that.
So it's made some lists of top 10 biggest box office failures because I don't think it was super cheap. In the first week, it ranked second place at the box office below Gladiator, but then it had scathingly bad reviews and poor word of mouth, led to a precipitous falling off in its grosses. So it collapsed 67% the following weekend.
It's not good. No, the movie's not good.
So on Rotten Tomatoes, Battlefield Earth has an approval rating of 3% based on 153 reviews with an average rating of 2.8 out of 10. The critical consensus reads, ugly, campy, and poorly acted. Battlefield Earth is a stunningly misguided, aggressively bad sci-fi folly.
I don't know if it's that badly acted. I mean, I get some of the points, but all of John Travolta's laughing bits were fantastic. I really dug it. I didn't view it as bad acting. I was having fun with it. I was having fun. I thought Tig from Sons of Anarchy was good in it. I think they all played their roles. Probably wasn't their faults. I think you can fix it too. Do you know how I'd fix that movie?
Oh, tell me.
It's so easy.
Yeah?
As soon as I learned how much time had passed, I went, nah, this is bullshit. Because 1,000 years had passed, right? I think the Cyclones had been around for 900 years.
Yeah, they'd been ruling for 1,000 years.
Okay. I hate it. I hate that. And if you change that, you fix most of the movie. Let me explain. Let's say it's 100 years after they did the invasion. So the invasion happened and now it's 100 years later. Not 1,000 years, 100 years. Their dad could have had a dad who was in the Air Force, right? And the knowledge is gone, but only just recently. Do you know what I mean? There's meaning if I cut it down to 30 years, 30 years after the cataclysm, we fix all those problems, because if you had the world end tomorrow in a heartbeat, and in 20 days' time, there's a whole bunch, there's 8 dudes left, or 8 people left, and they're the only 8 left who are in this area, and they're like, we have to learn how to fly these aircraft, they'd give it a fucking crack.
Yeah.
They'd give it a go.
And the aircraft have a chance of working as well.
Yeah. And that's only if you want to keep the Harrier scene in at all. I mean, if you just want to cut all that, fine. But yeah, I was with you when I saw the dudes with the war paint on in the Harrier jets.
That was the moment that stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I thought, this is so crazy. What the fuck is happening?
Well, they did sort of try to explain it by them finding like a simulator, and he shows the chief leader. He's like, yo, this simulator will teach you how to fly. And he does check in on him once or twice and goes, how's it going? And he says, yeah, man, all over it. See you at the finale. It was a bit much. But I think you fix that by saying, oh, it's 30 years later or 40 years later or 20 years later. A bunch of ragtag people who have survived the cataclysm monster invasion having to learn how to use these weapons makes way more sense than 1,000 years passing. I know 1,000 years is way sexier, but I'm just trying to make the movie make more sense. And I think that's just the easiest way
you did
that.
well. You did a good job of trying to save it. I'll give you a couple of critical responses. Rita Kempley of the Washington Post said, 1 million monkeys with 1 million crayons would be hard-pressed in 1 million years to create anything as cretinous as Battlefield Earth.
That is way too much. Come on.
The film version of L. Ron Hubbard's futuristic novel is so breathtakingly awful in concept and execution, it wouldn't tax the smarts of a troglodyte.
Ooh, that's rough.
What's a troglodyte?
It's like one of those ancient prehistoric fossils that you'll find on like a jetty.
It's waiting for my Google images to come up.
What, for a troglodyte?
Oh, it's it's like a lizard.
Isn't it like a fossilized
maybe troglodyte. It's
go on.
It's like a lizard human.
Oh.
I think it's something from,
And they're regarded for being quite stupid, apparently.
Well, it kind of looks like Jabba the Hutt, but thinner and with a spear.
Sounds lovely. Have you got any other reviews for Battlefield?
Elvis Mitchell of New York Times wrote, It may be a bit early to make such judgments, but Battlefield Earth may well turn out to be the worst movie of this century.
Ooh.
And called it Plan 9 from Outer Space for a New Generation. What's Plan 9 from Outer Space? It's a 1957 American independent science fiction horror film. Must have been just a bad sci-fi.
Okay.
British film critic Jonathan Ross said everything about Battlefield Earth sucks. Everything. The over-the-top music, the unbelievable sets, the terrible dialogue, the hammy acting, the lousy special effects, the beginning, the middle, and especially the end.
Holy moly. Yeah, see, look, it wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't that bad, was it?
I was enjoying it for its badness. I was told it's a ridiculous movie. I was a bit like you came into it ready. I was ready for it. I just thought it was...
I guess that's why we enjoyed it.
Yeah. Apparently there's a lot of, you would have picked this up, tilted, angled camera shots. Apparently there's people complaining about the excessive use of...
It wasn't excessive. It was just one scene in particular. And it's the first time that you exit the known world for them, right? Which is the old world for us, which is the cities, which are now overgrown with vines like Planet of the Apes, right? So they walk up to the city and they're looking for food in the city and it's just vines everywhere and there's no food. It's just barren, empty cities now and there's fuck all people. And there's what's called Dutch angles, which is when you tilt the camera on its side so that you get these really, really harsh angles, right? And it's meant to convey a feeling of mystery or unknown or disorientation,
uncertainty, confusion. Okay,
confusion.
I can see that.
So that's when they use this shot, and usually you just use it once, maybe twice. But there was just maybe a sequence where they arrived at the city and there's like 5 just Dutch angles, just one after the other, and I'm like, bro, I get it. I'm uncomfortable. You've made me uncomfortable, but for like you're very obvious about it. Anyway, yeah, there was a couple of Dutch angles, and that's okay. You're allowed to do that. Most movies probably have one in there you can probably spot.
Okay, get this. At the 2000 Stinker Bad Movie Awards, the film received individual nominations in 9 categories and won 8 of them. Worst Picture, Worst Director, Worst Actor, Travolta.
Ouch.
Says also for lucky numbers. Worst on-screen couple, Travolta and anyone in the entire galaxy.
Ouch.
Worst on-screen group, the Cyclos. How do you pronounce it?
Cyclos?
Cyclos and Man Animals. Worst unintentionally funny movie. Worst on-screen hairstyle, Travolta and Whittaker. Not sure who Whittaker was exactly. And least special effects.
Whoa,
it also received.
That's so rough. I mean, I will say this: the guns are pretty laughable. Like, it does look like they're shooting little bits of air at each other. Doesn't look particularly sexy. I'll give them that. Yep.
The Stinkers later revealed their 100 Years, 100 Stinkers list, in which people voted for the 100 worst films of the 20th century. Battlefield Earth not only made the final ballot, it took home the top prize for worst film of the century.
Ouch. Well, Travolta's actually on fire because a movie that he did in 2018 is widely regarded one of the worst movies ever, and that's the movie based off John Gotti's life. Is it John Gotti? Yeah. So it's the movie based off that, and apparently it's an absolute shocker. It's got a 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, man, it's got 0%. So he's on fire. Here's a review from 2024. So this is recently. I thought it was an okay movie. I wouldn't want to see it again. It isn't bad, but it's not great either. I don't recommend seeing this movie. That's just a user review. Hey Travolta, maybe don't romanticize the life of a mass murdering sociopath, but if you must, can we have the story in a linear fashion at least? Why are they calling out Travolta with this? He didn't direct the movie. I don't know what this user's talking about. But I'm a bit of a mob film guy, so if it's a bad mob film, I'm not in. I can't do that. I'm not watching another Travolta film for a while, unless it's, I don't know, what's a good Travolta film? Face Off.
Yeah, that's one that came to mind. I was just checking out his list. You got Grease, of course. I forgot about that. That was early on. Yeah, not going to watch that. Then you got Pulp Fiction. Bang.
I'll watch that. Yeah, okay, great.
Bang. I've been meaning to rewatch that. That's very high on my rewatch.
If it was Face Off or Pulp Fiction, which one would you pick?
I haven't seen Pulp Fiction in a very long time. It would be Face Off I only remember a couple of scenes from Pulp Fiction, so I want to rewatch that. And there's Broken Arrow. That was sick. I like that. Right.
Yep, that's a good one. What else? Saturday Night Fever. Not watching that.
I don't know what Wild Hogs is. Don't know what Hairspray is.
No, that's. I'm not watching Wild Hogs. No, I think that's it.
Pulp Fiction, Broken Arrow, and
Face Off.
Why isn't Face Off in this list of? This isn't all his films. This is just some of his prominent films.
Right, Face Off would be one of his more prominent ones.
You would think so. Sorry, Cage. It is there. I just didn't see it. Yeah, okay.
So good. Oh, also, John Travolta was in a 1996 movie called Phenomenon, where he plays the role of an angel who is sent to Earth, and he does a whole bunch of angel things, and people go, "Are you really an angel?" And he says, "Yes." I think it's something like that.
I'm just racking my brain. There was a Scientologist on Joe Rogan who was saying that John Travolta isn't really regarded as a hardcore Scientologist for some reason. I can't remember exactly what it is. He doesn't. Yeah. He's sort of.
Well, don't you think there'd be people who are stuck in the cult purely based off what they have on you, and they just own you to an extent? And you'll continue to pay your money to them, and they're happy for you to just believe whatever you want to believe, but thanks for the money and we've got you by the balls kind of thing. Couldn't he be in that sort of category?
He could be. He could be.
We don't know.
It says here that he converted after being given the book Dianetics from former actress Joan Prather. But I found Dianetics in a...
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
In like a, what do you call it, like a library, you know, this house library, book swap. Yeah, on the, you know, people have a little, I don't know, cabinet outside their house. And I saw it and I was like, fuck yeah, I was never going to buy this, but, you know, someone was giving it away. And I've flicked it open and I've had a little look around. I love reading and I can't dedicate myself to actually reading this thing. I just don't want to waste my time. Doesn't seem
I
super
imagine
engaging.
It won't be a waste of time. I imagine it won't be a waste of time. I imagine that at the base level of this shit is probably some good ideas, right?
Oh, there is definitely going to be some great ideas in there.
Yeah. That's the issue, is they get you on the good ideas and then they start.
I think there's better self-help books out there than this. That's my thing. I saw some of the titles and the themes, and I was like, I don't know. I
self-help books. If you buy a self-help book, that isn't self-help. It's help. Do you get it? Like, for you to buy the book requires a level of self-help that you're already exhibiting, which is great. But Carlin gets very upset. George Carlin says, self-help books aren't self-help books. They're help.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, he's saying, like, if you got the book, you don't need help. Like, you're doing it. You just did it. So, like, if the book is called How to Get Motivated, right? And you're like, oh, I'm going to buy that book because I want to get motivated. He would argue that merely even purchasing the book would be regarded as being motivated enough.
You're done. Yeah. Don't need the book. Don't need to read the book. That's what the first page
can say. The first page can say, congratulations, you are motivated and get after it. And thanks for the dollary dues. T-shirts.
Are we going to make some T-shirts?
Yeah, we probably should. I
was thinking we need some merch. Can we get some merch?
I think we need to make some T-shirts or get them organised. So we're going to be coming up with a couple of designs, and in the next couple of weeks or few weeks, you're going to start seeing T-shirts.
I reckon we could sell maybe 2 T-shirts.
Do you reckon we'll get that many?
Well, I reckon we could both buy one.
Yeah, well, that's 2.
Yeah.
I reckon we could double that. And think about it from this perspective. If we doubled it again, and then doubled that, and every one of those people told 10 people to buy a shirt, and then those 10 people told 10 people, talking millions, squillions.
Wow.
Nah, we're looking at some shirt ideas.
Wow. Are ya?
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right, let me know.
Yeah. We'll have to do a bit of a photo shoot, but we'll do some photos and then we'll make some shirts.
Sweet. Hey,
because we're coming up to the big hundo soon.
Oh, shit.
So there is a bit of sort of there's some ideas popping around the office on some changes and stuff to the pod.
Oh, the office, yeah.
We're going to use the 100 as a bit of a
platform,
a relaunch, a reset. Coming out there, 2024, let's go kind of thing. Even though, where are we? We're in April or something. May even.
I know.
Jeepers.
Hey, but this is exciting because this is our 2-year anniversary. Around this time, we've been going for 2 years, man. 2 years.
That is crazy. Doesn't feel like that.
No.
Do you feel like there should be more episodes out or something in 2 years? Are you like, where's the rest of them?
I've always wanted a guest. I mean, we've had guests. I want a sit-down guest, but at the same time, I'm also terrified of a sit-down guest.
Right, because what do you do after the once you've done the 2-minute thing that you actually, once you've done that?
Oh, but I could go all day, on certain topics.
Yeah, sure.
On certain topics. But I think my fear is just the organising part. It'll be fine once I did it.
Who's your dream guest?
I want, I forget his name. He was.
You forget the name of your dream guest?
No, because he's not my dream guest. He's someone that, he's a realistic guest as well. He was in the Mars one.
I want to go pie in the sky. I want to think, who would you get? If you could get anybody, got him on the phone, who do you want?
I'd go with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Because he could run the...
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay, live or dead?
I was hoping you'd say something
Could they
like
be dead?
Graham Hancock or something. Because
yeah, I do want him. I've listened to all his episodes on Joe Rogan, so I've got a fair idea about what he would say about a lot of things. Is there anyone else of that ilk that has all that experience? I would love Graham Hancock. I'm not saying I would love. What I want though is a bit more of a slant towards like local people and things. I don't really know what that is. For example, there was an Australian, a Perth resident, who was the number 2 candidate in the Mars One program. So they narrowed it down to 10 people that were supposed to be going to Mars. He was literally cruising around just with a small bag of things because he's getting used to having nothing. And he was an engineer. Now he's a comedian. He's someone that I wanted to have on, and he said he would do it years ago, probably 6 months in when I reached out to him and said, "Hey man, we've got a podcast." I sent him a link saying we're kind of space orientated and we'd love to have you on. He's based in Adelaide now, but yeah, we'll figure it out.
Let's try and tee that up because I've got a few questions that I really need to ask him about that whole thing, and that'd be really fun. We should definitely try and tee that up.
Because what I want to talk to him about is he has mentally gone
checked out.
He's mentally
of Earth. Who has the right to say that they have mentally checked out of Earth? Nobody has ever been able to make that call before. Even, you know what I'm saying? That wasn't even an option.
But
now it's
I
an
think
option.
Mars One turned out to be a bit of a bust or a scam or something. I remember that's also one reason why I wanted, because he would know about that because I haven't followed it.
Yeah, well, sure.
See,
it would be interesting to get that.
Mars One began with plans to put 4 colonists on Mars by 2023. That was what they originally said. By using SpaceX rockets and outsourced tech, Mars One claimed its first mission would cost just $6 billion. Tens of billions of dollars less than that. Anyway, it was going to be funded by reality TV. They were going, this is how they were going to do it. They were going to sell the rights. Everyone would want to see it.
It would work.
I would watch every minute of that.
Yep. So they had a couple of planned, the initial concept, all right? So I'm going to tell you that after 2018, there is no change in any of this. This is all just exactly what their thinking was before they started, right? So 2015, candidate pool will be reduced to 40 contestants, possible building of the settlement for training purposes. Situation at the end of the program, the candidate pool was reduced to 100. So we didn't get our 40, we got 100, right? 2016, the first communication satellite, ComSat, and a lander to demonstrate certain key technologies. What actually happened, one initial concept study by Lockheed Martin and Surrey Satellite Technology, not funded nor designed. 2018, a rover yet to be designed would be launched to help select the location of the settlement. A second ComSat unit would launch to L5 to near 24/7 communication. Situation, not contracted. 2020, a second rover and 6 notional modified Dragon capsules and another rover would launch with 2 living units, 2 life support units, and 2 supply units. Situation at the end of the program, not contracted. 2021, the autonomous rovers would begin settlement assembly. The environmental control and life support systems would produce a breathable atmosphere of 0.7 bar pressure, 3,000 litres of water, 240 kegs of oxygen, which would be stored in the habitat for later use. Situation at the end of the program, not contracted.
Man, space is such a scam. So this
goes on though. It goes on and on.
What about this, man? I don't know if this is true. It's called a cosmic con of interstellar proportions.
Oh, good.
It says that Mars One claimed to have received 202,000 applications from aspiring astronauts after going live in 2013. It says here in reality it received less than 3K. Then When the reality show failed to take off, Mars One sold merch and crowdsourced donations to keep its thrusters on. That's what we should do.
Brilliant.
Mars One even squeezed cash from its 100 remaining astronaut applicants.
Oh, send us some money if you want to be in the program.
Yeah, we should have a podcaster program.
We just need some fuel money.
They awarded
to get
points
to Mars
for donations and telling applicants if you are offered payment for an interview, then feel free to accept it. We do kindly ask you to donate 75% of your profit to Mars One.
Oh, 75%. Thank you very much.
A failed Swiss mobile company called Infin, bought Mars One for $92 million in 2016 after T-shirt sales and donations brought in about $1 million.
Oh, my God.
Mars One claimed to be on track to put people on Mars as recently as this past July. When was this written? But numerous finalists in Mars One competition have revealed the underlying scam. So this is where we need the guy who I forget his name, but I've got emails with him.
Great. 2022, though, Falcon Heavy would launch with the first group of 4 colonists. That's 2022.
That's what their projection was?
Yep. 4 colonists already up in the thing. Situation not contracted. 2023, the first colonists arrive on Mars in a notional lander, not contracted. 2024, second crew of 4 colonists would be launched. 2024, not planned. So a new one, not planned, not contracted, not planned. 2025, second crew arrives. 2031, the colony would reach 20 settlers. Not planned. Oh, that's funny.
Man, this is the biggest scam since the Apollo moon landings.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Fucking hell. Hey, speaking of which, there's a guy who's terrible just recently on Joe Rogan called Bart.
What makes him terrible?
I'm about to tell you. He's the leading moon landing conspiracist.
Great.
It was a great episode, but he doesn't do himself any favors because this guy, he's called Bart Sibrel, and he's got Sibrel.com, which I've never actually gone to, but I want to check it out. He's got a whole bunch of videos and stuff.
Okay.
He just needs to let the facts speak for themselves. He does a 1 + 1 = 4 type situation where he says, "Oh, they said they have to develop." Yeah, he takes it too far. He's got the information, and you go, "Oh, that's really interesting." And he goes, "So that means they couldn't have done that." And you're like, "That doesn't mean that." It means this, and that was great. That's all we needed. But then he goes, "Oh, and they did that, and that means they didn't go to the moon." And that's it. And you're like, "Whoa, why? How did you make that leap?"
Yes,
like I know what he's saying.
I make leaps all the time, but
but when you're trying to prove that the moon, you don't need to just. He just leaps, and anyway, it's fascinating.
For example, there's been certain things that have been said that I use potentially out of context in the sense that someone will say something like, "Oh, we don't have the technology to read the data files of the time of the original moon landings." Like all
I thought they deleted them.
I thought it's gone. Yeah, that's gone. But even if we had it, we don't have the tech to read it either. So it's like. So I'll hear something like that and go, well, that's fucking weird that we don't have the technology from 70 years ago.
They destroyed all the plans. Everything's destroyed. You can't recreate it. So even things like, for example...
You can't recreate it.
No,
you're doing it again.
No. So
cannot be recreated.
No, hear me out. In that you don't have the plans to recreate what they did again. Mm. So you can do it. You'd have to plan it again, and you'd have to do all the engineering. So, for example, one thing that he mentions that, for example, even the air conditioning unit, you would have to be run on a battery, right? Everything has to be battery powered when you're in space. I don't think you can't do combustion. There's no generators or anything. Okay. You can't, and it's quite difficult to keep a controlled climate in space because when you're getting hit by the sun, you've got it can be quite hot.
Yep.
And when you're in shade, it's extremely cold.
Right.
So there's obviously an energy demand on the air conditioning unit. you can't even determine whether they were able to do. Like, we don't even know apparently how to. It's quite a complex thing.
We don't know how to get the air conditioning going.
Well, that's just one aspect of it. The whole thing, every aspect of it can't be tested. Like, for example, he makes a good point. The first, just logically, I don't want to get into the weeds with it. One little item, because I know we're running out of time here. He says, for example, flight took X amount of attempts. I don't remember how many it was, but it was in the hundreds. To do the first successful flight took X amount of attempts. We did the moon landing first time successfully. First time there's ever been a project.
No.
For example, we took off from the moon. We've never been able to. So we landed on the moon. We took off from the moon, having never have been able to test that, and we did it successfully. That is the first time there's ever been. It happened on the first time. Think about SpaceX and the rocket that we launched, and we're seeing them blow up again and again and
so
again.
You'd
and
have to be doing a lot of dots and a lot of T's if you're saying, look, the reason why we don't have any data on taking off from the moon is because we've never done it before. So you are the guinea pigs here, but here's what we've done for you. On Earth, we've done 10,000 rocket tests, okay? And we can tell you the relative safety of this rocket and your safety of getting up into orbit and all that sort of stuff based on those tests. For this one, we've just had to go all nuts and bolts, blackboard style. There's just
cross
a whole
your
bunch
fingers.
We're all going to
cross our fingers.
Yeah, a whole bunch of numbers on the board, right? Like just jargon, most of it. No one can read that fucking shit, right? And you just went, okay, great. And they went, I think they're going to get on the flying candle.
And
I think they're keen.
On that note, just before we go, the funniest thing, we've talked about this before, but I think I have my screen up
your
that
stream's
you
still
can
going.
look at.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Which one is that? What's on there at the moment?
Wikipedia. You're looking at
the Ron Hubbard?
Hubbard.
Yeah, okay.
Hubby.
Let's just get up the Apollo 15 when it takes off from the moon.
What, the camera moving?
I don't mind that. It's weird, but let's just let's just look at the optics.
I actually have no idea how they did that.
This is the most ridiculous looking footage of all time.
Yep. All right, let's go. Falcon, Apollo 15 lunar module lifts up from the moon.
Apparently the camera was done by remote, the pan of the camera, because obviously there's no human on the.
Yep.
Is this it?
Yeah. Is this someone on Earth or someone in the capsule who's doing that?
This isn't the one I'm thinking of, but it doesn't pan this one. But look at this.
Yep. Here we go. About to go to space. It looks like it obliterated itself. And it looks like there's a lot of dust.
It's Apollo 17. It must be Apollo 17. That's funny. That's funny, but this is funnier.
Yeah.
That looks rubbish. I've seen better things in 2001 Space Odyssey. 2001 Space Odyssey looks amazing. It looks very similar to that in a lot of ways.
What is that? Okay, there you go. That's how they did it.
Anyway, we'll go into the moon
next week.
Yeah, we'll go into the moon landing and a bit more.
We'll deep dive on that next week. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here, Nate. Thank you.
Loved it.
Great job. We'll be back same place, same time next week.
We'll get to the bottom of it.